Continuing from the previous episode 1195. Pretend to be a ghost. Get out of here. Xiao Yan stood quietly on the ground of the altar at this time. The fiery red power of fighting immortals permeated out, and he shouted at the altar. At this time, the oval-shaped 100-meter altar has been surrounded by the forbidden source created by the evil spirit of the ghost, and even this forbidden barrier temporarily suppressed the power of the three people of Shuihui and made them unable to move. Oh, it's interesting to be able to escape the blockade of the forbidden origin realm. As Xiao Yan's loud shouts fell, the shadowy figure appeared slowly. What caught Xiao Yan's eyes was a mysterious man wrapped in a black robe, but behind the mysterious man's black robe, the red and demonic word, sin, was particularly conspicuous. Sin? How is that possible? And seeing this figure, the expression on Shuihui's face became even more difficult to look at. They have heard of the sin force, but they have never encountered it, but there is no doubt that this sin is much stronger than their Hawkeye team in terms of strength and means. Sin? Seeing this, Xiao Yan couldn't help but say, unexpectedly, it is a sin. Just when Xiao Yan was puzzled, the Soul Eater sighed with emotion. Sin. This is a huge force composed of human beings and loyal to the evil race outside the territory. The aliens have given them evil powers, so that they can use their human identity to freely enter and exit the world, and thus do some dirty things for the aliens, said the Lord of Soul Eater. And as far as I know, every time they show up, if it's not related to the Holy Flame, I'm afraid it's related to the foreign evil race behind them. Lord Soul Eater Zaidu said. Immortal Leaf? Xiao Yan said in surprise after being said by Soul Eater. It should be right, these guys came for the undead leaves. Be careful, these guys never act alone. This guy's identity is only the lowest among sins, and should be called a sin guard. Although his strength is in the late stage of one-star fighting immortals, he may have accomplices. Quote, the Lord of Soul Eater instructed. There should be some treasure on you, right? The crime guard said to Xiao Yan, revealing a wave of extreme evil between the lines. You should also have a secret that I want to know. Xiao Yan is naturally not afraid of this sin guard. After all, he does not talk about the holy flame on his body. Just the means Xiao Yan has at this time, I am afraid that it is enough not to use the holy flame. Deal with this guy, hand over the undead leaves, otherwise, die. The sinner obviously didn't have the heart to talk too much with Xiao Yan, and said directly yin and yang strangely. I don't have an immortal leaf, but I can send you to hell. Seventh layer breaking the Sky Ruler. Xiao Yan bore the brunt of the attack. He didn't give the criminal guard a chance and launched the attack first. The 7 dazzling ruler beams with the power to destroy the dead and the dead, attacked the sin guard directly. It's beyond our own power. Seeing this, the criminal guard dismissed it and waved it casually. Suddenly, Xiao Yan's seemingly powerful attack was directly engulfed by a trace of evil aura in the forbidden origin realm, which was instantly engulfed. Sure enough, it's a bit tricky. Xiao Yan also smiled helplessly. Although the 7th layer breaking Sky Ruler is powerful, but after being promoted to Do Xian, every time I use it, I feel a sense of powerlessness. It seems that I have to find a high-level ruler method. Otherwise, the 7-layer breaking Sky Ruler alone is not enough to deal with the next enemy. One finger in the sky, call the heavens and the earth. The next moment, Xiao Yan mobilized the enormous power of fighting immortals in his body, and gathered it directly at his fingertips, wanting to blast away at the crime guard. Shabu shabu. Facing Xiao Yan's stern blow, the crime guard didn't dare to take it lightly, and he kept chanting some ancient incantations, and then in the world of forbidden sources, countless black energy squirmed, and a darkness suddenly condensed. Night. The Dark Knight wears sturdy armor and holds a huge matching sword in his hand, just like a guardian. Bang bang bang. Xiao Yan's strength was at his fingertips, and he was abruptly facing the crime guard. Suddenly, the Dark Knight raised the sword in his hand, directly facing Xiao Yan's attack. Ring ling ling. The sound of metal collisions sounded slowly. After a while, Xiao Yan took 3 steps back, while the Dark Knight took 10 steps back, and even the sword in his hand trembled slightly. This guy. Seeing this scene, the guard couldn't help frowning. Obviously, he couldn't figure out why Xiao Yan was not imprisoned in the realm of the forbidden source, and how could the strength of the mere 1-star fighting immortal stage be compared with his own Darkness Cavalier's tide? You must know that the dark night of yours is comparable to the powerhouse in the late stage of human beings. Xiao Yan, this guy, can you handle it? Seeing that Xiao Yan ignored him and confronted the crime guard directly, Yu Xiaoyi couldn't help but muttered slightly. Although Xiao Yan's attack power is tyrannical, this place is in that guy's enchantment after all. If this goes on, Xiao Yan's situation will be at risk. Shu Wei also said helplessly, the imprisoning power of the Forbidden Origin realm may be for a while. It will not disappear, so they are also powerless and can only stare. No, there is a huge amount of energy in Xiao Yan's body that is rapidly gathering. What does he seem to be doing? The attack just now was just a feint attack? At the next moment, Lu Qing's beautiful eyes sensed something was wrong and said slightly. And at the moment when the three of them were talking, the situation in the air actually changed dramatically. It's almost there. In the next moment, there was an extremely dangerous smile on the corner of Xiao Yan's mouth, and then on the palm of his hand, a circle with extremely tyrannical confinement force suddenly spread out. The power of confinement? Seeing this, the guard couldn't help but be surprised. He just wanted to summon the Dark Knight to protect himself, but he was directly attacked by Xiao Yan. Blood-devouring monument. Suppress me. And Xiao Yan pointed at the Dark Knight. The majestic power of fighting immortals temporarily dragged the Dark Knight, and the huge imprisoning power turned into a side full of 100 meters in size. The cyan stone tablet fell from the sky and went to suppress the Sin Guard. Above the cyan stone tablet, there is an extremely tyrannical force of imprisonment, and there is even a wave of devouring fluctuations. If it is shrouded by it, even if it is as powerful as Sin Guard, the strength of the late Xingdushan, I am afraid it will be suppressed in an instant. Hoo, evil power. And the Sin Guard suddenly shook his head and sighed, a trace of blackness to the extreme, as if the evil aura crawling out of the abyss slowly spread out. Haha, I've been waiting for you for a long time. Seeing that the blue stone tablet was about to suppress the crime guard invoked the source of evil to try to resist, but a dangerous arc appeared at the corner of Xiao Yan's mouth. Holy flame destroys evil. Destroy it to me. A frenzy burst out from Xiao Yan's mouth, and then a small bluish-yellow flame shot out at the guilty guard in an instant. In the eyes of Shu Wei and the others, this flame was just an ordinary flame, but that was because Xiao Yan used his soul power to perfectly hide the fluctuations of the holy flame, so that it would not be discovered by him. How is it possible? Double Saint flames? Under the cover of Xiao Yan's huge soul power, the blue-yellow flame did not reveal any power of the holy flame, but when it came into contact with the evil power of the Sin Guard, it instantly engulfed its evil origin. And with the disappearance of the source of evil, the guard's eyes became extremely solemn for the first time. My own evil source was resolved by the power of holy flame. Without the evil source, I am afraid that with my own strength at this time, it would be even more difficult to deal with the suppressing power of this cyan stone tablet. End of this chapter. Continuing from the previous episode 1196. I see how you deal with my blood-devouring monument. Suppress me. Seeing that the holy flame easily penetrated all the defenses and the source of evil of the sinner, the other defenses of the sinner were useless in front of Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan immediately sneered. No matter how powerful this Sin Guard Yi Xingdushan was in the late stage, and how evil the source of evil on his body was, he was still no match for the power of the holy flame on Xiao Yan, not to mention the power of two holy flames. Unless the king of the evil race from outside the realm comes, and there is still some prestige for Sheng Yan, otherwise this trace of evil origin is not worth mentioning in the eyes of Sheng Yan. Shabu. After a while, the azure stone tablet did not stop at all, and directly covered the entire body of the sinner with an extremely tyrannical force of imprisonment. Completely enveloped by the blue stone tablet, the crime guard suddenly let out a rather painful scream. Because the cyan stone tablet had just enveloped him, a *** aura spread all over his body, and the tyrannical force of imprisonment directly suppressed the power in his body. The Sin Guard was suppressed by him, and the Dark Knight instantly turned into a wisp of black smoke and dissipated away. Boom! Wang Om! As the criminal guards were completely suppressed, the forbidden realm that enveloped the three of Shu Wei also slowly retreated. Xiao Yan's little brother is very good. Shu Wei just recovered, and immediately cast a burst of admiration at Xiao Yan. In their line of work, they walk on the edge of life and death all year round. Of course, they don't look at their age, they only look at their strength. As long as they have enough strength, they are worthy of respect. How to deal with this guy? Lu Qing stepped forward slightly and asked. I think they should not act alone, there should be other accomplices. And according to my guess, they should have followed us for a long time, or use him as a bait to lure their accomplices out of the nest? Xiao Yan made a bold proposal. Little brother is right. I agree, Xu Weiwei said with a smile. Obviously, in the situation just now, ordinary people would have been scared to pee. This Xiao Yan's actions just now won Xu Weiwei's trust and respect. Moreover, the mysterious force of sin has never been alone in every action. Since it is targeted by them, there is no need to be soft-hearted. It must be a nest to avoid future troubles. Otherwise, once they escape anyone, what is waiting for them is dark revenge. I agree too. Yu Xiaoyi had no choice but to say. Xiao Yan had just rescued them, so Xiao Yan was not so heinous in Yu Xiaoyi's heart at this time. But how to determine their manpower and strength? After all, Captain Yu is not here, and our main force is not there. If the enemy we attract is too strong, I'm afraid. At this time, Lu Qing said, feeling a little worried. Xiao Yan's strength has been seen with their own eyes. Although it is only in the early stage of the one-star Do Xian, he is not afraid of the late stage of the one-star Do Xian. With the addition of the water and moon in the early stage of the two-star Do Xian, as long as you don't encounter a powerhouse at the late stage of the two-star Do Xian, it is estimated that no problem. Have you forgotten my identity? Xiao Yan suddenly laughed when he heard this. Alchemist? As Xiao Yan's laughter fell, the three of them said in unison. Apparently, he was shocked by Xiao Yan's fighting tactics just now, and no one even remembered Xiao Yan's identity. In terms of combat, the first stage of one-star Do Xian is no less than the powerhouse in the later stage of one-star Do Xian, and even in terms of refining technology, he is a third-rank emperor-level refining medicine. Among them, just one kind of identity is enough to make Xiao Xiao. Yan is proud of the heroes, the two identities are superimposed. This Xiao Yan can be said to be the real arrogance. There is no doubt that a pharmacist can not only refine many magical medicines, but his powerful soul power is also the best way to sense danger and even ask for information. The strong earth attribute can indeed judge the risk factor based on the land, so that they can choose the route, but after all, the distance is limited, and it is quite troublesome. But the pharmacist is different. Once the huge soul perception power is released, it is clear what danger is there. Even the soul exploration of the pharmacist is the best way to ask for information. All these things have just established the extraordinary status of a pharmacist. Help me protect the Dharma, I'll find out by checking his memory. Xiao Yan first used his soul power to check that there was no such thing as this guy in the vicinity before he said to the three of Xu Weiwei. Okay, little brother, don't worry, your safety is covered by me. Xu Weiwei said with oath. Damn boy. What do you want? I tell you, I am a sin person. If you dare to do anything to me, our forces will never forgive you. With your strength, it's not worthy for us to carry our shoes. The crime guard watched Xiao Yan come towards him with bad intentions, and couldn't help but feel a trace of fear in his heart. The bluish-yellow flame just now was clearly the fluctuation of two holy flames. Although it was a little weak, the guard was sure, and the other three people of Xu Weiwei naturally didn't notice it. It's all right, relax. Xiao Yan gently came to the guard's side, looked at the figure in the cyan stone tablet filled with blood, and couldn't help saying. This spirit-devouring blood tablet really lives up to its reputation. It has the power of blood and imprisonment. As long as it is feigned by other means, it is mainly based on sealing fighting skills. Once it is hit by the blue stone tablet, it will be completely suppressed. Suppression is not only the suppression of strength, but even the mind and body. The whole body is suppressed and bound, and this is the most terrifying part of the seal fighting technique. You dare to offend our criminal, you must not die. Seeing this, the criminal guard saw that he had nowhere to go, and Yu Kanshu link to www.yukanshu.com immediately roared, and then his eyes glowed with determination, and the fighting spirit in his body suddenly became surging up. No, he wants to blow himself up. Lu Qing on the side was the first to speak. It would be too whimsical to want to explode in front of my emperor-rank third-grade pharmacist. Seeing this, Xiao Yan shook his head, and then his eyes narrowed, and the dazzling soul power directly pulled out, facing the suppressed criminal guard's body. And go, Guru. With a sound, the surging vindictive aura in the guilty guard's body suddenly became quiet, and even the pupils were filled with a deep taste, and Xiao Yan on the side looked exactly the same. This is. Although Yu Xiaoyu was the eldest lady of the Yu family, it was the first time she faced this situation and couldn't help asking. Shush. Don't make a noise to disturb him. This is the unique soul detection of their alchemist. They can use their own soul power to detect other people's memories. Shuiwei whispered softly, "This guy is so strong. I don't know if I will meet him in the ratio of Dongzhou." Lu Qing said slightly, and when the words fell, the three of them were also vigilant at the edge of the altar. Crash! Xiao Yan's soul power was extremely huge, instantly pouring into the body of the criminal guard, and then following the limbs and bones, directly facing the center of his brain. If you want to explore memory, the brain center is the most complete place for memory. End of this chapter. Continuing from the previous episode 1197. Crash! What is this? Just as Xiao Yan's soul power was in a state of no one, he was heading towards the brain center of the criminal guard's body. At first, he went all the way without hindrance, but he discovered some problems along the way. The brain center is the place with the most complete memory. Xiao Yan directly poured his soul power into the criminal guard. If he could enter the brain center, he would undoubtedly be able to detect all the memories that the criminal guard knew. At this time, this road is the fastest road to the brain center, but at this time, Xiao Yan was blocked by a huge black beam of light. This black light beam tightly blocks the only way to the brain center, and there is no terrifying fluctuation on the black light beam, but for some reason, when Xiao Yan stared at this rather ordinary black light curtain, a burst of dizziness came slowly. This light curtain is a bit strong. After a little probing, Xiao Yan felt a little helpless. The black light beam in front of him that was blocking his path was quite complicated, and its strength was not something he could handle. Evil power. Looking at the appearance, this black beam has a lot of origin, but it's exactly what I want. I sucked it with the Blood River Bell. I just got the Blood River Bell and I haven't charged it yet. Such dazzling energy can be used as fertilizer. The Lord of Soul Eaters suddenly laughed. This power is too evil, will it be okay? Although the Soul Eater and the Blood River Bell are both evil spirits in the ghost world, Xiao Yan was still a little worried. Don't worry, the power of this ghost soldier is much stronger than you think. If you can't absorb even this bit of evil power, then the title of the evil soldier in the ghost world will be in vain. Although this power is the evil power of the evil people from outside the realm, it is just like a dream to want a ghost soldier to have an accident with such a little power. The real king of their foreign evil race is almost here, the Soul Eater said with great disdain. Xiao Yan heard the words and his head was covered with black lines. Blood River Bell, it's up to you. After a while, the delicate little bell appeared directly in Xiao Yan's hand, and then Xiao Yan muttered silently. Ring ling ling. The Blood River Bell was just thrown up by Xiao Yan, and a harsh sound suddenly sounded, and a *** aura permeated out of it. With the appearance of this *** aura, Xiao Yan's breathing was even the vindictive energy in his body. The flow has become extremely slow. I'm afraid this Blood River Bell is not simple. When he noticed this scene, Xiao Yan couldn't help but say. After all, the power of He Ling, who only released a slight trace of blood at this time, is so tyrannical. If it is really displayed, I am afraid its power will be enough to shake the world. Rush! The next moment, the aura of the Soul Eater suddenly shook, and a spooky ghostly aura instantly enveloped Xiao Yan's figure. The purpose of this was naturally to relieve Xiao Yan from the pressure of Shui Helling. Sure enough, at this time, Xiao Yan's eyes were focused on the Blood River Bell, and he did not notice the breath released by the Soul Eater, otherwise Xiao Yan should have vaguely guessed that the Soul Eater had a trace of the Lord of Soul Eater. Ghost Qi, the power in it is actually far more powerful than Samsung Dushan. And its true peak strength, I'm afraid it is close to the true peak in this great world. Ling ling ling, the Blood River Bell made a piercing sound, and immediately, those evil forces were like a ** burst, and they were swallowed directly by it. After swallowing so much evil power, Xiao Yan could vaguely feel that the aura of the Blood River Bell was also slightly intensifying. Let's go. After doing all this, the Master of Soul Eater said directly. Without the resistance of the evil power, Xiao Yan suddenly came to the brain center of the Sin Guard easily. Arrowing it with soul power will allow him to probe his memory. Xiao Yan murmured, and without hesitation, he turned into a stream of light, penetrating into the brain center of the guy in front of him. In a blink of an eye, 5 minutes passed. Looking at the constantly changing light group in front of him, the Soul Eater was also worried. This light group is the brain center of the Sin Guard, and Xiao Yan has just entered it, and suddenly the light radiates. Even after a few minutes, the light does not weaken. The Lord of Soul Eater can't help but worry. After all, Xiao Yan at this time is composed of soul power. If something goes wrong, it may affect its origin. How's it going? After 10 minutes, Xiao Yan's soul body suddenly emerged from the central light group in the brain, and the Soul Eater hurriedly asked. Someone should have set an extremely tyrannical seal on this guy's brain center. Even I can't break it. Xiao Yan just shook his head and said, "Let's go out first, we'll have a long-term plan." Seeing this, the Soul Eater also shook his head and said, "Well, let's go, but this trip didn't come for nothing. At least I know their purpose and personnel distribution. It's just that my deeper memory is protected by a powerful force. My current soul strength is not enough to crack it," Xiao Yan said when leaving. After the two of them finished speaking, they jumped directly, left the body of the Sin Guard, and immediately returned to the altar, and the Sin Guard was temporarily unconscious because Xiao Yan invaded his brain center. "How's it going?" Xiao Yan just opened his eyes when Shui Wei and Lu Qing, who were beside him, hurriedly gathered around and asked. Lu Qing is so urgent, of course, because of her special status. The reason why she traveled with the Eagle Eye team is just to experience and participate in the Eastern continent. As for Shui Wei, she is still quite afraid of the power of sin, so she naturally wants to know its information and catch it all at once, so as to avoid future troubles. There are 3 of them. Xiao Yan got up slightly and said something. 3 people? Following Xiao Yan's words, Shui Yu couldn't help but be surprised. The power of this crime is extremely huge and mysterious, but if there are only 3 people on the other side, one person has already fallen into their hands. As for the other 2, it seems that they don't need to be the captain. Solve. Is there any secret? As a girl, Lu Qing was naturally more careful than Shui Wei. He noticed a trace of worry under Xiao Yan's face and asked. There are only 3 of them, but their strengths are the late 1-star Do Xian, the late 2-star Do Xian, and the late Sengxing Do Xian. After Xiao Yan finished speaking, he let out a long sigh of relief. When Xiao Yan said Sengxing Do Xian, there was a burst of tightness in his chest. With Xiao Yan's current strength, it is not difficult to deal with the ordinary 1-star Do Xian in the middle and late stages, and even a complete 1-star Do Xian can fight against the backwater. And in the case of clan lines, the winning rate is less than 100%. If the 3-star fighting immortal is stronger than the 2-star fighting immortal, I am afraid it will just die. A powerhouse in the late Sengxing Do Xian? With Xiao Yan's voice falling, Shui Wei, Yu Xiaoyi and Lu Qing all frowned. The overall strength of their Eagle Eye team is 2 1-star fighting immortals, 3 2-star fighting immortals, 1 3-star fighting immortal, 1 3-star fighting immortal, and the strength of the Jade Legacy of 3-star fighting immortals is only in the mid-term. The higher the level, the greater the gap contained in a small level. Until now, they finally knew why Xiao Yan was worried. End of this chapter. Continuing from the previous episode 1198. In the late stage of the Sengxing Do Xian, I am afraid that we must gather our entire team to cope with this strength. After a while, Shui Wei opened her mouth slightly, and her voice was full of solemnity. They don't know how strong the Sengxing Do Xian is in the late stage, but the only thing they know is that Yu Yifeng once used his strength in the middle stage of the Sengxing Do Xian to forcibly kill 3 strong players in the early stage of the Sengxing Do Xian. From this, it can be seen that the strength of Sengxing Do Xian in the later stage is probably more powerful than Jade Legacy. We have to break them one by one. First, lure the guy in the late stage of the 2-star Do Xian to kill him, so that when Captain Jade arrives, we will work together to deal with the guy in the late stage of the 3-star Do Xian. Otherwise, the remaining 2-star fighting immortal late-stage guy is enough to change the whole battle situation. Xiao Yan also calmly analyzed. Can we do it? Yu Xiaoyi and Lu Qing on the side were obviously a little afraid of Xiao Yan's actions. After all, the strength of the 2 of them was only 1-star fighting for immortals. Although there were some techniques of pressing the bottom of the box, they were definitely not as perverted as Xiao Yan. I agree with what little brother Xiao Yan said. This guy in the late 2-star Dushan, I'm in charge of the main attack. How about you assist me? Xue Wei smiled at Xiao Yan and said immediately, don't be so troublesome. I happen to have a roll of formation in my hand, which is just right to trap this guy. At that time, the main attack will be brother Xue Wei. After all, the powerhouse is in the late stage of the 2-star Do Xian. I am afraid that only the powerhouses of the same level can cause damage to them. Xiao Yan said with a smile. The scroll of formation? After Xiao Yan said this, the three of them looked at Xiao Yan as if they were looking at monsters. The strength in the early stage of 1-star Fighting Immortal defeated the powerhouse in the later stage of 1-star Fighting Immortal, the 3rd rank alchemist of the Emperor rank, and now there is another scroll of formation, which makes the three of them can't help being a little bit shocked. After all, forget the first two, the maker of this formation scroll must be an array mage, and the formation mage is one of the rarest professions in the world. It is really enviable to obtain a powerful formation scroll. And when Xiao Yan heard this, he could only helplessly laugh. However, the scroll of formation in Xiao Yan's mouth was a pretense. Obviously, Xiao Yan did not have a scroll of formation, but was preparing to condense one on the spot. After all, the cultivation of the array master is closely related to the spiritual power, and the spiritual power seems to resonate with the soul power. The basic of the array mage is the spiritual power, relying on the spiritual power to drive the core inscriptions of life, condense the inscriptions, and form the formation. 1,000 core inscriptions are enough to deal with a 1-star Do D, and if you want to deal with a 1-star Do Xian, you must reach 10,000, and as for a 2-star Do Xian, you need to reach 20,000. As for the late 2-star Do Xian guy in this criminal force, according to Xiao Yan's speculation, at least 26,000 core inscriptions are needed to be able to barely stop it. Originally, Xiao Yan was quite negligent in the cultivation of the array master. In the past, there were at most 4,000 or 5,000 core inscriptions, but after Mu Yingying sacrificed, with the holy flame heart, Xiao Yan's whole body seemed to be completely new. Both the spiritual power and the soul power have been enhanced a lot under the action of the sacred flame heart. In addition, the core inscription of the natal life has been successfully integrated by half, and its power is even stronger. Then it's decided. Next, we will discuss the battle plan. In detail, this plan can only succeed, not fail. Seeing that the three of them were no longer suspicious, Xiao Yan smiled. Yep, in the beginning, we used this guy as a bait. Xiao Yan, you used your soul power to lure that guy in the late stage of the 2-star Do Xian, and cast an array to trap him. Xue Wei attacked, like this. The four of them also nervous discussion in the altar. In a hill a few miles away from Shawu village, there are beautiful mountains and clear waters in this hill, and there are even some quite hidden wooden houses. Village chief, the members of the Eagle Eye team didn't die, but instead captured the mysterious man who had something to do with the alien race. A tall and fit man approached and said to the village chief. What? When the old village chief heard this, he was sitting upright, but he got up and said in shock. The old village chief obviously didn't know that the three guys were from the Sin force, but under pressure, he could only betray the Hawkeye team to ensure the lives of their villagers. Village chief, what should I do now? The man who had just passed the message was speaking in a daze. Their Shawu village has always been helped by the Hawkeye squad, but in the end they bit them back, which is uncomfortable for anyone else. Oh, one wrong step. Forget it. Gather the clansmen and leave here. The old village chief shook his head slightly, full of helplessness. He knew the style of the Hawkeye team. Even going back at this time would not help, and the location of the entrance to Icefire Island, the old village the chief also told them, which made the old village chief feel less guilty. Yes! The man heard the words and quickly went down to prepare. Several other places. In the underground passage of Shawu village, two men slowly appeared here, motionless, both of them stared at each other intently. Sinner, you are doing this, but it's too much. You clearly know that this Hawkeye team was hired by me to go to the Ice and Fire Island to rescue the strong members of our trapped clan. The black-robed man surrounded by ghosts said angrily, the 10th soul of the Ghost Kingdom, respect, soul mourning. The man with the word sin on his back couldn't help but sneer. Sinner, I need you to give me an explanation. Soul Shang was still unrelenting, and roared directly at him. Humph! Soul! Don't use your ghost kingdom to oppress me. We, Sin, have never been afraid of you. As for the Hawkeye team, we are just because the undead leaves are in their hands. When we get the undead leaves, we won't make it difficult for them. The sinner said softly. Immortal leaf? Hearing this, Hun Shang frowned. It was obvious that since Hun Wuya fell, the news of undead leaf had gone to hell. That's right, the sinner said softly. Your Sin and our ghost kingdom is a cooperative relationship anyway. I hope you don't destroy our plan. Hun Shang left a sentence viciously, and then disappeared. Humph! How old are you in the ghost kingdom? Even if it is the king of 10,000 ghosts, he respects our Sin by 3 points, and the little soul is not worth mentioning. The sinner looked at Soul Shang's figure disappearing, and suddenly made a rather disdainful voice. In the distance, Yu Yifeng and the others also took the things they needed to enter Icefire Island and headed towards Shawu Village. End of this chapter. Continuing from the previous episode 1199. The location of Icefire Island is quite mysterious, and every time it appears at the entrance, it will be wrapped by the 2 attributes of ice and fire. This type of ice and fire attribute is extremely special, and ordinary powerhouses cannot withstand the extreme terrifying fluctuations, and they will be exploded in an instant. He died, so he needed something else to defend against this power of ice and fire. Ice and fire grass. This is a rather special plant that grows in some gloomy and humid places. If you find the entrance to the Icefire Island, you only need to refine the Icefire grass, and it will instantly form a mysterious shackle on its body. The power was weakened a lot, thus greatly weakening the pressure of ice and fire when entering. Strange. How did the aura of the Sin Guard become weaker? Not far from Shawu Village, in a hidden forest, a figure wearing a black robe with Sin painted on it raised his head and said, "Look in the direction of Shawu Village." He is here at this time, and he has set up a teleportation formation. After all, they are notorious for their Sin. Whether they get the undead leaves or not, they must leave here immediately, otherwise they will be discovered by the great powers in Dongzhou. I am afraid they will use this to press their higher level traces. Forget it, the teleportation formation is almost ready. The next moment, the crime guard slowly shook his head and buried himself in the forest to continue his arrangement. Su. After a while, an inexplicable and powerful aura spread out from the direction of Shawu Village. This breath is quite small, and it seems to spread in a certain pattern, which is difficult for ordinary people to detect. Yep, is this information from the Flower Sin Guard? This information is, have you found the undead leaves? The criminal guard couldn't help laughing when he heard this. Among them, the guards are also clearly divided into strength levels. Most of the guards are 1-star Do Xian or even lower, and their current strength of 2-star Do Xian can be attributed to him if he can find the undead leaves. Then it is very likely that oneself will be bestowed with evil power, and then not only will the status rise, but even the strength will increase straight like flying on a plane. Wa Sin Guard, if you want to blame it, you are too weak, but it is your honor to be my stepping stone. The Sin Guard smiled slowly, and then instantly wiped out the mysterious transmission of breath, and his figure moved towards Shawu Village. Will that guy fall for the trick? If that 3-star fighting immortal guy is attracted, I'm afraid we. Yu Xiaoyi on the side opened his mouth slightly, obviously not targeting Xiao Yan, but became extremely nervous because it was the first time to play this kind of hide-and-seek game. Yu Xiaoyi is quite favored in the Yu family, so she has a temperament of the eldest lady, and even every training, the family members breathe and hide their strength, which makes Yu Xiaoyi overestimate herself, but this is the first time she is facing this situation. When the crisis of life and death, Yu Xiaoyi seemed a little scared. Don't worry, I'll be fine. If it is that guy, I have the confidence to take everyone away. Xiao Yan's soul power slowly spread out, and then everyone quieted down, quietly looking at the unconscious guards in the altar. As for Xiao Yan himself, there was a trace of it. The deeply hidden inscriptions of the core of natal life appeared, quietly pervading around the altar. At this time, they were located outside the outermost wooden house of the altar. They were wrapped by Xiao Yan's huge soul power, and they subtly merged with the surrounding colors. And the unconscious guard was sleeping in the center of the altar, but in front of him, a rather delicate leaf was beating slowly, but his person contained this frightening fluctuation. This thing is naturally an illusion condensed by Xiao Yan's expensive soul power, in order to deceive people. Gulu. For a minute, there was no trace of anyone, only the sound of the wind blowing. Quote. 5 minutes later, there was still no one there. It's not the signal I sent, is it? But according to this guy's memory, the fluctuations in the transmission of information are clearly correct. Xiao Yan also said helplessly. However, Xiao Yan was not feeling well at this time. It took a lot of soul power just to maintain the illusion of the immortal leaves, not to mention that he had to cast the soul power on the 4 people to hide their figures. 5 more minutes. If he doesn't show up again, I'm afraid I can only withdraw first. Xiao Yan said helplessly. Shush, someone's here. Just as Xiao Yan's thoughts fell, the void outside the altar suddenly wriggled slightly, and an extremely dark evil aura slowly emerged, which instantly turned into a human figure. This figure is exactly the same as the criminal guard in a coma, with a rough figure, wrapped in black robes, with a red coat, Sin, on the back, but the breath, compared to the unconscious criminal guard, is undoubtedly much more powerful. Su, Wa Sin Guard, I never thought you would have today. The Sin Guard of the late 2-star Do Xian had just appeared, and there was a hint of sneer on his face under the black robe. It seems that this undead leaf has no relationship with you, so it's really cheap for me. Seeing this, the guilty guard of the late 2-star Do Xian slowly burst into a rather crazy wave. Looking at the appearance, he wanted to swallow it. Do it! At this moment, Xiao Yan said directly, and then everyone suddenly shot. Absolutely can't let the late 2-star Do Xian guards swallow the late 1-star Do Xian guards, otherwise, once the strength skyrockets, they will definitely not be able to handle it. Crash! Xiao Yan's voice just fell, and the altar, which was originally a clear sky, was suddenly completely enveloped by an unknown mysterious force. Even the criminal guard who was as strong as the late 2-star Do Xian felt an invisible sense. Pressure. Eat me! Waterfall. Shuihui didn't hesitate, her figure swept away suddenly, and a huge energy water column with a size of dozens of meters permeated instantly from the palm of her hand. Sure enough, there is an ambush, but this power is irrelevant to me. The Sin Guard in the late 2-star Do Xian seemed to have expected this situation long ago, without any surprise. Facing Shuihui, the tyrannical energy water column also clapped his hands gently, and suddenly the energy hand beads of Shuihui disintegrated out of thin air. Space system? And Xiao Yan took the lead in displaying the formation. At this time, everyone was in his own formation. Naturally, he discovered the scene of the Sin Guard in the later stage of the 2-star fighting immortal. 1 2 3 4. 3 1-star fighting immortals, 1 2-star fighting immortal in the early stage. Does Yu Yifeng look down on me like that? The sinner cast a casual glance, then shook his head in disappointment. Su. As soon as the voice of the guilty guard in the later stage of the 2-star Do Xian fell, a dazzling evil force burst out from his body, and immediately shot away at the crowd. Where did Yu Xiaoyi suffer from such a terrifying scene, just when she felt the evil power that was extremely evil and could instantly obliterate her own evil power? Her legs softened and she fell directly on the ground of the formation. Damn, it's too late. Shuihui and Lu Qing looked at each other and said helplessly. The distance between the two could not keep up with saving Yu Xiaoyi, but the speed soared and they rescued her. Be careful. Seeing this, Xiao Yan didn't have time to send the core inscription to maintain the strength of the formation, and the figure flew away suddenly, and the power of fighting immortals, which was covered in fire attribute, suddenly burned on the body, trying to use the evil power. When attacking Yu Xiaoyi, stop it.